smelling himself. But that seems to be where he is with me. He was trying me, and I felt disrespected by his actions, you know. And I have a 3-year-old who's watching him, you know, because children are sponges. They, you know, emulate what they see, and I don't want the 3-year-old to think, well, Henry thinks he can talk to mommy like that, so can I. So I just felt really disrespected by Henry's behavior, how he was acting, because that's not really what we want to see in our home.
All right. How you guys doing? This is
The Unaveraged Family.
Unaveraged Family. I'm Fendi, and she is
Tian, Wifey,
and we're here for another episode. This is actually our official episode 1. Can you believe that? Episode 1. Now, when you're watching this video, we might be on episode 200. And that's the crazy, exciting thing about the YouTube world. But let's go ahead and get started.
Today we are talking about our schedules.
We're talking about our schedules, and what is it about our schedules that you want the viewers to know?
I want the viewers to know that our schedules are hectic as crap. And even with a super hectic schedule, you can find time for yourself. You can find time for your spouse. You can find time to do whatever you want. And I know a lot of times we say, I didn't have time today. There's not enough time in the day. Yes, there is.
Yeah. Literally, our schedules suck. My schedule sucks sometimes. I appreciate it, right? Because
schedules suck all the time.
Everybody tells me, right? And I try to study up on a lot of, you know, influential or successful people, but they always say, you know, to keep yourself busy, make sure you're always constantly working and grinding and trying to get to your ultimate goals in life. And so that's what we're doing. But in doing so, we have to find a balance, right? Because if we don't, we're going to burn out. We're going to, you know, just age way sooner than we should. So at the end of the day, let's tell the people what's important about. Matter of fact, let's recap our week this week.
Okay.
Let's recap our week this week. Tell them a little bit about what happened, the ups and the downs, dealing with kids, dealing with work, dealing with each other, and now we're here, right? And let's give them some advice along the way.
So, Fendi, let's start with you because your schedule is by far the most packed schedule that someone can have. When do you start your day?
I start my day at 3 a.m.
Excuse me, what time is that when people are sleeping?
I start my day at 3 a.m.
Why, pray tell, do you do that, sir?
Well, at 3 a.m. is when I get the most work done, right? I'm a very big family person. So as long as my family is awake, I'm going to find something to do with them or say with them. I'm going to want to joke with them. I'm going to want to just spend time with them. And so that part is important, and I do it. But I also feel like I need that time where I can isolate myself and just be in tunnel vision. That's where I get my best work done. And so I get up in the morning, and the first thing I do is I pray, right? I pray. I thank God for the day. I thank God for my family and protecting over them. I check on my kids and make sure that everybody's good, and then I get busy.
Okay, so he starts his day at 3 a.m. because he has wonderful reasons to do it. God bless his soul. At 3 a.m. I am sleeping.
Snoring to be exact.
I'm not snoring. I'm sleeping. So you have at least 2 hours to yourself, right?
Yeah, at least.
Every morning. When do you end your day, Fendi?
When do I end my day? Well, it fluctuates, and that's the crazy part about the schedule, because I work as a school dean, and as a school dean, I have my own, you know, I have everything that goes along with that. So sometimes that makes my day fluctuate. But I also, you know, given this pandemic, I'm also teaching, right? I'm teaching classes, so that adds to my day. I am the athletic director at my school, right? So we have sports, we have practice afterwards. We have games afterwards. We're in volleyball season right now. We're starting basketball season now. And then my kids play football. And so with football, we have practice on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And the time just changed, so the practice schedules fluctuated a little bit.
So do y'all see the hats that he's putting on?
And then on Saturdays, there are games, okay? But on Saturdays, we go to church on Saturdays. And so the games have definitely been a conflict. And we're trying to start a league that doesn't play on Saturdays so that we can go We can go to church on Saturdays as a family, right? But those are all the hats that I wear. Not only that, I'm constantly working on my visions, on my dreams for myself and my financial goals and things of that nature. I have business aspirations. We have a business that we do. And I have several business projects that I'm working on for my different businesses. So it's a lot, but at the end of the day, what's too much to do for my family? And so the biggest thing though, I'm trying to find a balance so I don't burn myself out. So lately I have been trying to get myself to bed at a certain time, right? If I can get in bed by,
for your schedule.
It's important. If I can get in bed by 9, then I have 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. That's 7 hours if I could fall asleep at 9. Do I always fall asleep at 9? I don't know, right?
That's 6 hours, boo.
What did I say? What did I say?
7 hours.
Look at there. I can't count. I must be tired. Right? 9.
Hours,
listen.
boo.
9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, and 3. 6 hours. So sorry about that.
Well, they did say you need 6 to 8 hours. So if you can get 6, that's wonderful.
So that's the goal, right? That's my ideal time. Now there are times when, sad to say, I don't get to bed till midnight. Right? And so I know that's unhealthy for me. And so as we go through this channel, you guys will get to see how I am adjusting to make sure that I can get to bed by 9. If I can get to bed by 9, then I can definitely get that 6 hours of sleep and then be up by 3. And I function really well throughout the day. It's just by 9 though, I'm usually pretty tired. So
I would be dead if I had to wake up at 3. Yeah. So one of the main things we want you to get dealing with schedules is making sure you schedule time for yourself, time for your family, time for whatever dreams and goals that you are trying to accomplish in your life. It doesn't necessarily have to be a business or entrepreneurship. Maybe you're going back to school. Mm-hmm. Maybe you are studying for something, a certification that has to do with your job, or you're trying to, train for something. Making sure you have time that fits into all the other things that you have to do in your day, in your life, is very imperative. So one of the things that we did is we sat down and we created schedules together. Mm-hmm. I don't get up at 3. I get up at like 5:30. I really try to help get the kids out.
Not to cut you off. So first of all, I got to say this because prior to this, right, always hated schedules. I hated writing. I hated writing things down. I hated, creating schedules for myself because I always prided myself on being able to have everything up here. But what happened a couple of years ago, as my life got busier and busier, I started to have things fall through the cracks. Like I would forget to do this or I'd forget to do that. And my wife was always on me like, well, you need to make a list. You need to make a schedule.
What's my slogan?
Paper remembers and people forgets. Okay? Paper remembers and people forgets. And so she helped me learn that. And I actually now turn around and teach that to other people because it is an effective strategy. It does work if you're going to do your scheduling with consistency. So now before I accept something, to do something, whether somebody asks me if I could do this or that, I always say, well, give me a second. Let me make sure I check my schedule to make sure that I have that time built in. And I'll kind of get into my season of no in a little bit, but go ahead and finish what you were saying, and I'll explain to them what my season of no is.
Because that's an important part of your schedule as well. So one thing that we did, we sat down and we made schedules for each other because we have different things going on. Mm-hmm. Just because we're married doesn't mean we do everything together. We don't. He works in education. I work in science. Bless his heart for working with the children. So I go to work and I work.
So tough. They drive you crazy, but you love them.
I work as an environmental manager of a team of people. I spanned from 14 down now to like 6 or 7, but it's really hectic at my job. So when I get there, it's go, go, go. So I've always been a person who loved having a schedule, a to-do list, what needs to be done, do today, what needs to be done tomorrow, this week, what needs to be accomplished. So that is so imperative to be able to not feel stressed out and also not feel like you miss the things that you want to get accomplished. So we created schedules for ourselves and worked in workouts, whatever it is you're trying to do. So that's so important for us and it helps us flow better. Now, as you can hear, I said flow better because it doesn't mean there aren't days where your schedule isn't going to get a little fudged, that you're not going to have everything flow how you want it to do. Your kid didn't pack their book bag the way you asked them to last night.
Guys.
The lunch prep didn't happen, so in the morning you're making everybody's lunch before they get out. Can I get an amen from somebody?
Listen, if we don't stick to that schedule, it just throws everything off so bad.
It does.
It's so imperative.
It's like a domino effect.
Yeah, it's imperative. We get the laundry done on the weekend. We iron clothes. We actually set out all of our clothes for the week. So we know from what the kids' socks are going to be, what the underwear is going to be, the tops, the bottoms. We make sure the lunches, everything is prepped. Otherwise, one little missing cog in this wheel, in this machine, and then everything kind of becomes disjointed for that day. So we got to make sure that everybody does their part. And so we're still learning how to be our most efficient selves, but I think we've done a whole lot better than a lot of families have done, just simply because we've stuck to those routines and we've stuck to those schedules.
And it's imperative, I know people who have bins in their room with the kids' names on it, and it has 5 drawers. Every day's clothes is in there, everything they need. We lay them out the same way, and it's so important. It not only helps you not have your chaos, it helps them learn to be responsible. Who doesn't want to teach their kids to be responsible? That's like a very positive part of having a schedule. So we also have a schedule for our chores. We have a schedule for like some of everything. And it's just imperative to do it. So as we're telling you why we have schedules, was there anything crazy in your week this week? I can tell you something that was crazy in my week this week.
What was that?
I typically get off work at 5 o'clock. I really aim to get out the door at 5 o'clock. I want to leave. I don't want to be there anymore. Well, due to some different projects, I ended up leaving work at 5:45. So the 5:45 threw me off. And it made me get home later than I wanted. So certain things I wanted to do that had to do with the meal. So I kind of switched up my meal. Because what I try to do is meal prep on the weekend, so I know if I need to get home, this is here, everything's already set out, or something's already cooked. And I was like, well, I'm getting home so late. It would throw off what we're trying to do when Fendi gets home with the kids, when we make sure bath time occurs, because I need the children to be in the bed at a certain time.
And while she's meal prepping and cooking when I get home, a lot of times me and the boys, we come home and we're immediately in the shower, right? I take the 3-year-old Langston. I have him. We're taking a bath. I take a shower while he's in a bath, and I can still keep an eye on him because he's in my bath, so I can still see him where he is. I let him go ahead and do his bath. When I come out of the shower, I go ahead and finish washing him up, make sure he's clean, take him out. 2 birds with 1 stone there, and then one of them is taking a shower in their bathroom, and then the other one goes in. And so at the end of the day, it's literally a machine, but I think it works well when we work together. And I think sometimes, like what happened on the other day when you were a little bit late, is just that we have to try to jump in and help each other out, and you had to help me out this week when I got stuck at work dealing with a student safety issue. And you had to come pick up the kids because they needed to get home so they could stay on their schedule. And I knew that I wasn't going to leave campus until late because of something that happened. And so at the end of the day, being able to be a support system, a true support system for each other, I think that really, really helps in terms of staying on top of our routines and making sure, even though it got off some, right, but we were still able to manage. And so that's the key. You're gonna have some things that come up that are unexpected,
and you can't help those.
Yeah. What do you do when those things come up?
But you make your schedules, you make your kids' schedules, and you share your schedules so you can know what days things may be a little different or when you need to step in. It's so important, but you can't help, a project happening where things end up needing to go out by the close of business. And you have to wait there because what you're looking for doesn't get sent to you till 5:30. I know somebody identifies with me on that.
I feel a lot of hurt in that comment. I don't know who it's directed toward, and hopefully they're not watching this episode. Matter of fact, hopefully they are, right? Stop sending documents at 5 o'clock that need to be reviewed. But that's a huge point, right? Because when we talk about work-life balance and things of that nature, it also requires that the people that you're at your place of business, they also understand, and you create an expectation where there's a limit, right? I'm here until this time.
Yeah.
But then there's something that's even more important that I have to do.
Respecting your time.
You have to respect that time, because that thing that's more important, that's my family. And if I have to choose between my work and my family, I'm going to choose my family 100%.
And it's not always easy. I
Right.
used to be the person who would stay at work till 5:30, 6 o'clock.
Absolutely. We both are that person, have been that person.
Because I felt
right?
like I had to get these things done. I
Mm-hmm.
have to get this done. I have to stay here. And I remember once I was there, and it was probably after 6, and we used Microsoft Teams at my job. And my supervisor saw me that I was still on. I don't know why he had logged back on. He was like, "Why are you still there?" He was like, "I need you to go home." And I was like, "I have all this stuff that has to be done." And he was like, "Do it tomorrow. Don't let it stress you out." And I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from having a schedule. A schedule helps lessen your stress because you don't feel like you have to get everything done right now.
And if you're not managing your stress, you know what you're doing, right? You're actually destroying your own body, right? You're destroying yourself, because that stress has an adverse effect on your body. And so you will feel it in being more fatigued. You will feel it in gaining more fat in places that you don't want
Mercy,
it,
I've been
right?
there, Lord.
And you'll notice that your immune system suffers and you'll get sick easier. All of these things have to do with the stress. And I mean, we can't help the stress that comes toward us, but we definitely can help how we respond. And so one of the things, you know, I'm an educator and I love my students and I love my work and everything that I do. I love the impact I'm able to make. But I used to definitely put that work over my family sometimes, and I didn't realize I was doing that. But I was putting more time into my work, more time into the kids at work than I was doing for my own kids. And so I had to kind of check myself, and I had to be like, okay, whoa, my ultimate responsibility, my primary responsibility is to make sure that the kids that live in my house with me, that God has entrusted me with, are getting, you know, my 100%, and that my wife is also getting my 100%. And I think there's nothing wrong with that, but I think sometimes we're in a mode that feels like, oh, well, we got to do everything at work. But to be honest with you,
and I have to do all of it right now.
And it has to be done right
now.
now.
And I can't say no. I can't say wait.
But work will be there tomorrow.
It will. That to-do list will be there tomorrow.
Absolutely.
So it's important to be able to have the power of no.
Talk about that. I'm in my season of no right now. And it's hard for me because I love to help people. So if somebody asks me for something or to do something for them, my answer in the past has always been sure. Let me figure out how I can do it, but sure. But I realize my plate is so overloaded now. Think about your last Thanksgiving meal, how your plate was just overflowing, things were falling off. And that's how my life became. And so in 2021, I decided it's going to start my season of no. I'm going to say I can't do that. You ask me to be on this board, I'm not able to do that. You ask me to do this, I'm not able to do that. And I'm going to commit to fewer things, but that's going to allow me to do those fewer things a whole lot better. I'm in a phase right now, or not even a phase, I'm in a place right now, a chapter right now in my life where it's very important that my family and I, that we gain financial freedom, right? And it's very important that we also spiritually are able to develop in the way that we need to develop to be pleasing in God's eyes. And so at the end of the day, anything that takes away from the ultimate goal of our financial freedom and our spiritual maturity, that's a great word, maturity, then I have to say no. And it's not that I'm trying to be mean or rude to anyone, but I do think that sometimes people can kind of take you for granted because they always get a yes. They don't look to see the scope of what suffers when you say yes.
Because you have to prioritize your family. You have to prioritize your time. You have to prioritize your life. And a schedule is like there's lots of ways to do it. But having a schedule and knowing what you can say yes and no to, it's so imperative. When I had my second son, I realized that going from 2 kids to 3 kids was a lot different. And I went on a quest to reclaim my time. I started to say no. Hey, can you be on a committee to help with this? It was stuff I wanted to help with, but I didn't have time to help with that. I can't help with everything. There's got to be somebody else who could help.
And I think you can't feel guilty because of that. I think that's the biggest thing, because sometimes we feel guilty because we said no. But if you're not going to guard your mental health, who will?
And your time.
And your time, right? Who will? Everybody else, they're willing to take. So as long as you're giving, they're going to take. And then, God forbid, you pass away or something happens, they're going to find the next person to come and do this committee or that committee or this thing or that thing. But your family loses you forever. And so that's why I just think it's so important to be able to say no and to be able to prioritize what's most important.
It is.
Right? And family is way up here when it comes to the list of most important.
Yeah, and when you do that, you prioritize your children, your spouse, your loved ones to make sure that you're there for them. I remember our oldest daughter told me that when I was at one of my super busiest times.
Our only daughter.
Yeah, our only daughter.
Oldest child.
She said, you were so busy. She said, I felt like I couldn't talk to you. I was like, but you came home with me every night. She was like, you were so busy. You were doing this and that, and you were over this, and you were doing all these things.
Right.
And she went through a lot of turmoil. There are some things that I feel that I missed, and I kind of saw later. And it's like, I was not going to let that happen with any of my other children. So it was so imperative that I didn't overwhelm my schedule and that I prioritized my schedule and figured out what was important. So as you look to make a schedule, you want to make sure that you are prioritizing what's important to you. If you're trying to lose weight, you need to make sure you're prioritizing when you're trying to work out. You can't just say, I'm going to work out this week. Prioritize it. Put it in your schedule. Put it in your phone. Put it on your Google Calendar. Give yourself reminders so that you know at 5 o'clock when I get off work, I should already have my workout gear packed. I'm going straight to the gym. Because if you don't do that, you're not going to go to the gym.
So listen, I'm going to ask you to stop right now. Stop right now, and I want you to type in the chat. Type in the chat, yes, I am going to make a schedule. Type, yes, I am going to make a schedule. Because when you actually make a commitment like that, you put it out there into the atmosphere, to speak, you will more than likely follow up with that statement or whatever that is. If you just kind of like, oh yeah, that sounds nice, and you don't actually put anything into action, you're not going to make that schedule. And we're going to be in 2023. Mind you, 2022 hasn't come yet, but we'll be in 2023. You'll still be having these same issues that you're having with your scheduling. What we've done is we've made a decision. We're not going back to not using schedules. We're not going back to not being organized. We're not going back to not being structured, right? Because it wouldn't be healthy for our family. And so if you're willing to make that commitment, just go ahead and type in the chat, yes, I'm taking the commitment and I'm going to make a schedule. All right? Back as you were. So we haven't talked about our week, right? And it's important that they hear about our week. It's important that they hear about the challenges that we face. We talked a little bit about it, but we haven't gone too heavy into it. This week, I had to spank my son, right? Henry. Henry is our 7-year-old. And I grew up on corporal punishment, and I feel like it has its place.
So did I.
Yeah, and so did she. It has its place, but I really worked hard to build relationships with my kids so that if I talk to them about something, or if Tian talks to them about something, that they will understand and they will just kind of do as we ask them to do. I know kids are kids, so sometimes you may have to remind them, which we don't mind reminding you once or twice, but when it becomes something where it's just every single time, and that's what we got to this week. So this week we woke up, and again, I was up at 3 a.m. I was doing my thing. I'm dressed, and we wake them up at their time so that they can get dressed and get going.
They have a checklist of what they need to do in the morning, so you can't tell me you didn't know.
Yeah, so she created them a checklist, and I just heard Tian and Henry going back and forth. And she would tell him to do something, and he would have an attitude. She would ask him to do this, and he wouldn't do it. And he was just talking back. Mind you, this is something that I've had multiple conversations with him about. I have a huge problem with people in general that don't respect their mom. That's big for me. I love my mom. I respect her, and I'll do anything for her. A mom does so much for you and just birthing you. If she did nothing else for you, you still owe her.
For those
right?
9 months.
For those 9 months of just being uncomfortable.
Labor.
You can talk to that a little.
Well, just for the 9 months you go through of your uncomfortability of being pregnant, going through labor, having your body change in so many different ways. And if, like, I breastfed all my kids, so being the person who has to, like, then after I've given birth to you, now give more of me to you for 12 months or 11 months, 10 months, whatever time you decide. You know, you go through so much, and the bare minimum you expect is some respect.
RESPECT.
Find out what it means to me.
Come on, Aretha.
So the 13-year-old had already told him, stop talking to her like that. What's your problem? You know you're not supposed to talk to her like that. And it was over something so simple, something he needed to do when he was going super slow. Mm-hmm. He hadn't packed his lunch the night before like he was supposed to. And I was like, hey, get your things together. There's a certain time your father would like to leave the house. And he just was going on and on.
And let me ask you, how did you feel as that situation was kind of unfolding? How were you feeling on the inside? Because I could sense the energy from you as far as how you were feeling. But I mean,
I was hurt. I felt disrespected because I really tried my best to speak to my children the way I want to be spoken to. Mm-hmm. If I have to scream and raise my voice, you must really just not be listening to me. I'm trying to be what I want you to be to me. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't giving me that energy. He wasn't listening, and he just wasn't having it. And he had such an attitude back and forth to me, which he hadn't really had that much. You know, the last couple of months, I don't know if he's smelling himself at 7, but that seems to be where he is with me. He was trying me, and I felt disrespected by his actions, you know. And I have a 3-year-old who's watching him, you know, because children are sponges. They, you know, emulate what they see. And I don't want the 3-year-old to think, well, Henry thinks he can talk to mommy like that, so can I. Mm-hmm. So I just felt really disrespected by Henry's behavior, how he was acting, because that's not really what we want to see in our home. Absolutely.
And so as I saw this situation, I heard the situation. I was in my office working. I heard the situation unfolding, and I said, okay, this is it. Because talking to him has not worked. Counseling him, you know, telling him what the Bible says, telling him what's wrong and right. He knows what's wrong and right. But he's at an age now where he's testing simply to see. And like sometimes I'll deal with them differently. I'll say, okay, you need to do X amount of push-ups, or maybe you need to write about whatever's going on, right? Express yourself. But I think sometimes, I'm going to be honest with you, kids need a good old-fashioned, just a little whop, you know, and help them understand, right? So true. I took my belt. I gave him a couple licks to it. He was able to apologize. He went on, had a great day. And late after that, he was... his behavior had altered to the point where I could see he was visibly trying to not do the things that he was doing.
Yeah, he was more appreciative of me.
He was more appreciative. And I'm just saying, why though does it take somebody to have to spank you for you to understand that I should respect my mom, I should respect my dad, I should, you know, even if I don't want to do what they ask me to do, but because it's my mom asking me to do it, and that person has given so much to me, then I will, you know, adhere to that.
No.
If just because it's my dad, you know, I love my dad, I want to, and that's what we want to foster. When we talk about this, we talk about the culture of our house, of our home. We want to foster a culture in our home that is respectful. I want them to see us being respectful to each other, and they do. Yes. They see us being respectful to each other. Not that we always agree on things, and we don't always agree on things, but they never see us cursing each other out.
No, because you know, we really try to foster the golden rule. Mm-hmm. Treat people the way you want to be treated. You can't say that someone is disrespectful to you if you've also been disrespectful to them. Mm-hmm. If you want somebody to be kind to you, you need to walk around being kind. You know, and we really tell them that because they'll come home and tell you about something. I know your kids do it as well. Or so-and-so did this. Well, what did you do? Well, I called him a name. So what did you expect him to do bad? You weren't being a Christian. You weren't being respectful. You weren't being a good person. Like, what do you expect? You have to give out what you want to give. Mm-hmm. And that's so important to teach your kids that. But I think overall my schedule wasn't crazy this week, Fendi. I think there was some bumps in the road, but because I had kind of already prepped myself for the week, it wasn't that bad. It worked out pretty well. It was always tiring, as you probably can say as well, working and then coming home and putting on your other hat of a parent is always a lot of work.
Okay.
It's just things you have to help your kids with, but
Absolutely. And I think so. This week, I had to have a conference with Theodore's teacher.
yeah.
I had a conference with his teacher because, first of all, they got progress reports,
A couple weeks
ago, right? And he never gave us his progress
He
report.
didn't produce it after several times of saying, "Hey, I have Henry's progress report. Where's yours?" I lost it. This,
Right.
that. You like multiple excuses for why I can't give you my progress report.
Now, when he says he lost it, we know he's lying. He knows precisely where it is, but because he knows that the progress report was not what we
Right, it wasn't up to par.
It wasn't up to par. So, hey, I lost it. So, but here's the funny thing. I work at the same school where they attend.
That's the funny part.
And we have access digitally online to their progress report if we want it. But our thing is we want you, our child, we want you to bring us your progress report because that's a part of communication. We send you to school for a particular reason. And part of you being in school is you're going to get this progress report and we want you to bring it
And
home
being a responsible
and share it with us.
person.
Be responsible and we have a conversation about it, good, bad, ugly, or indifferent.
Right.
And then we move on about the situation. But because he knew that he'd been slacking off, first thing before we even got it or as soon as he gave it to us, the teacher that I had a D in, she threw away all my work. So that's why I got a D. She just threw away my work.
And she can't find it.
And she can't find it. She's not going to find it. Because
And I said, that doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Why would she throw away your work before grading it? If she lost something from your group projects, why wouldn't she just give you a grade because it's on her that she lost it? I was like, it's not making any sense. So Fendi was like, I'm going to have a conference with her. Don't worry about it. I'm going to email her and see what's going on because he has to be lying or something. What's going on? I'm pretty sure you've had the same experience. Sometimes your kids are really on it for school and sometimes they aren't. And you have to end up having a conference with the teacher or trying to find out what's going on. And there's always a little bit of truth in what they're saying. But typically, they know whether or not they've been slacking in class or not.
Right. And with him, he's typically slacking, right? Just a little background on him. He's gifted. And so he typically doesn't struggle really academically, but he also has this mindset where I call it arrogance, where he just feels like, I can slack off, but because I'm so smart, I can just make it up later.
Or I'll do it at the last minute.
I'll do it at the last second. He loves to procrastinate, so I'll do it at the last second. Now, mind you, we give him schedules. He has schedules on his phone. He has Google Classroom where all his things are posted. He's able to go find those things. He's able to email back and forth with his teachers.
His classmates.
If
you missed something, come on.
And he just doesn't have the work ethic that we're trying to instill in him. And so, long story short, he brings the progress report, and I know there's a D. Now, when I go and speak with the teacher to find out why he has a D, which I could imagine, he's in the classroom. All he does is he hurry up. He tries to get something done, turn it in real quick, doesn't even apply himself to it because he wants to turn around and talk to his friends. And he's more interested right now. He's in 8th grade. He's more interested right now in socializing than he is about learning because in his mind, he knows everything he needs to know. But there's a certain level of respect that comes to that. But I'll tell you how I even got him to bring me his progress report. So I got fed up because he wouldn't bring me his progress report. And he knows he can go to the front office, even if he had lost his progress report. He can go up to the front office and get a copy of his progress report. He knows this. But he's trying to procrastinate. He's trying to beat around the bush about it. I said, well, tell you what, since we can't find our progress report and somehow you can't go to the front office to go get your progress report, what we're going to do is, if you don't bring it to me by 10 o'clock in the morning on this day, I'm going to go into your class and I'm going to embarrass you like you've never been embarrassed before in your life.
So did you get the progress report before 10?
I kid you not. It had to be 8 something. Somebody came knocking on my classroom door and I'm like, okay, let him in. It's him. I'm like, in my mind, I wasn't even thinking about it because I know I had set the deadline.
Put it to the side.
And he walks in, here's the progress report, Dad. And I'm like, well, why did it take this long? If you could find it somewhere, because I didn't even ask him how he got it. I didn't ask if this was the original one or if he got a copy printed or what. But he knows everything he's supposed to do. And I think the important part about it is sometimes we have to know how to apply the right pressure to our kids in order for them to excel, in order for them to do the things that they need to do. Sometimes, unfortunately, the smartest kids are not the ones that make the best grades.
Or the best decision.
He's or the one that makes the best decision. You'll see that there's people in this world that you would be like, man, so and so was so smart. How come they made this dumb decision? You see that with even people who become billionaires in the world, like a Bernie Madoff, who, I mean, by all accounts was a smart person in order to dupe all those people. Bernie Madoff, if you don't know who he is, go look him up. And he duped all those people. He became a billionaire, and then he lost it all in the end. He embarrassed his family in the end. And some people would say he was extremely intelligent. But why would you make such a dumb decision? Why would you make a laundry list of dumb decisions, right? And smart people sometimes make dumb decisions. And that's what we're trying to avoid with our kids. We want to make sure that they know, yes, you all are smart. All four of our kids are extremely smart, extremely beautiful.
Take accountability when you haven't been doing what's right.
Have to be
it's never the end of the world. Okay, you weren't doing well. It's a progress report. Progress report's the middle of the grading period. So if you weren't doing well, you weren't being responsible. Now, what are you going to do to turn it around? Talk to the teacher. You have to be humble. Go talk to the teacher. Hey, I'm sorry, Mr. or Miss So-and-so. I've been doing this, that, or the other. I would like to make up my work. Can I make up my work and get a percentage off? What can I do to make sure the rest of my work is on par so I can bring my grade up? Being able to do that, it takes accountability and responsibility. And those are the things you want your children to learn. And sometimes you have to find creative ways to get them to learn it. And as you know, every child is different.
Every child is different.
We have kids who, the oldest and the second boy, who was the second from the youngest, were the kids who would come home with their paper and go, here you go.
Here you go. The oldest boy, Theo, he'll beat around the bush. He thinks he can outsmart you. Oh, I'm not going to bring this.
Or last night of the project. You've known about the project.
For a month.
Project will be due on Monday. Sunday night. Not Sunday morning, mind you. Sunday night. Ugh. Woo. Gotta get this project done. When is it due? Tomorrow. How many parts do we have? Well, let me show you the rubric, which has like 8-9 things on it.
The question is, son, when did you receive this rubric? A couple weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
A couple weeks, like a month. Yeah. And so that's kind of the nature of it. But, again, we talk about all of these things, but we love each and every one of our kids. We love them very much.
Yeah, you just find which kid needs what and how to give it to them. It's just different. The oldest, she'd come home with her materials on the day she received the rubric. Hi, I'm going to need a trifold board, some glue, some construction paper, and these items here. Can you purchase it for me at the store tomorrow? And then would bug us until we purchased all the materials. Did you go to the store when you were out, Papa? I didn't get a chance. I'm trying to get started on my project.
And Henry is pretty much the same way. Our 7-year-old. It's the 13-year-old, and then I'm looking at the 3-year-old. I think he's gonna be like the 13-year-old.
He must skip every other child.
He skips every other child. Apparently, the 3-year-old is a piece of work, right? He thinks he's smarter than everybody in the room, also, and he's kind of sneaky. And so we're gonna try to figure him out.
Those of you who have toddlers, you know how it is. They don't call it the terrible 2s and 3s for nothing.
Not for nothing. I promise you that. I promise you that.
But just to conclude, our weeks, our schedules, it was full of everything. Ups, downs, laughs, frustrations. Probably yours was as well.
Let me tell you something that I enjoyed this week.
What?
You brought me lunch at work.
I did.
So my wife brought me lunch at work, which is something that seldom happens because just our schedule typically.
And we're literally 15 minutes away from each other, like our job.
We work 15 minutes apart, and I think that's something we need to do more. Right? And so it's harder for me to leave school, dealing with the discipline and dealing with having to teach a class, 2 classes also this year, while I'm dealing with all the discipline for both campuses is a lot. So
Educators don't usually have that much flexibility
I'm not able to
in
slip
their day.
out like I would like to. But I want us to be able to, throughout the day, do little things like that. Because, again, we have to work on that relationship at all times as well. And so I thought that was awesome. And people at work are, well, what you got? What you got? I'm like, why are you so nosy? But
Because nobody brought them lunch that day.
You know how people at work are. But it was excellent. It brought me some nice lunch. It was an omelet, big steak omelet with some avocado and some different things there, which all things that I love. So it was delicious and it was great. And so that was one of the high points of my week. And that's pretty much it for me. I don't know if there's anything else you want to say to the people outside of make sure you hit like and make sure you subscribe and make sure you just comment down at the bottom. Is there something that you're facing with your kids and maybe you want us to make a video about how we deal with that with our kids?
Yeah.
I promise you, whatever you're going through with your kids, we're probably going through the same thing.
Or we have gone through at some point in time.
Right? And again, we have every age on the spectrum. We have a 23-year-old
down to a
3-year-old.
And we're going to tell you about that too on an episode. We have to do an episode about blended families. And, why we have such a large range in our spectrum.
Absolutely. The 23-year-old is my stepdaughter. And so having that blended family dynamic has been interesting, to say the least. Right? It's been challenging for sure. So if you guys are a blended family and you're watching this, we have some for you. We have some tips for you.
Yeah.
We have some experiences that we
definitely
can share.
Gonna have an episode that covers that. Maybe next episode will cover blended families.
Yeah, maybe you can share some of our laughter and some of our pain because all of that is wrapped up into it.
It is, that's part of being a family, being a parent, having all of that. But overall, our goal is to be an unaverage family. Like whatever it is that you're going through. We've been there, and you don't have to be an average family. You don't have to suffer alone. We're here. You're there. Let's share. Let's be a family.
Absolutely. So you guys, take care. We'll see you on the next episode. And this is Unaverage Family. Thank you for tuning in. You enjoy your day.
Bye, guys.
See you.